Hey guys, so I wanted to make this video talking about having trust in yourself and knowing that you are aligned in whatever it is that you're pursuing and how that makes people feel very uncomfortable. You see, most people are following scripts. Um, they're following pre-written scripts for them that were written by society. They're following these actions that their parents tell them they got to do. Well, you've got to get good grades in school, then you've got to go do this subject. Oh, you know what? This industry actually pays out a lot, right? So I want you to pursue that. I want you to get this university degree. I want you to go to college. I want you to, and then a lot of people are doing this. They're following their somebody else's expectations of them. You know, and the sad thing about that is it shouldn't be that way, and it doesn't have to be that way. But unfortunately, it overwhelmingly is the way that most people live their lives. And if you're watching this video, maybe you're someone that doesn't live like that, maybe you are. And I'm not making any judgments either way. I just want to give my own personal take on how the way I've lived my life, more so in terms of how I look at careers and things like this, have really alienated me from a lot of people, because it's not really traditional. I grew up in a pretty big family, and it was I have good parents. I have great, loving parents, but they definitely had some issues, especially when we were growing up. I won't get into it all now, but a lot of depression on my mum's side, overworking on my dad's, like a lot of mental health issues, things like this, right? But at the core, there was always a lot of love there. And I think because I grew up with parents that always supported me no matter what, I didn't have, even though they had issues, and I'm sure my dad wanted me to take a job in the trades or whatever, he would never like push it. You know what I mean? He'd just trust and say, "You do what you want. You're a grown man now. You do what you want." And my mum is very much just like whatever makes you happy. She's an awesome mother, right? And I'm very blessed to have that. But I think I'm not sure if it's a matter of other people growing up with parents that just weren't attentive to them at all and didn't show them any love or let them follow what they wanted to. Maybe they were very controlling. And I think that leads a lot of people when they get older, when we start off as kids, we kind of have ideas of what we want to be. For me, it was always art. I love art. This is a sticker I just made recently. I'm still doing it now, and it's actually, which, I might talk about later in this video, it's actually to the point now where I make, not crazy good money, really not, but occasionally I will get jobs that make me, 2,000 plus Australian dollars for drawing graphics, like something that I always wanted to make money off when I was older, and I've actually done it, which is crazy. But I feel like every single person watching this video, when you were a kid, you had an idea of what you wanted to do, right? Like you had an idea of what you wanted to be. And if you're really honest with yourself, how true, if you can really think back, and I know people will say like, oh, kids don't have any idea, I was constantly changing my mind, and maybe you were like that. But I feel like if you're anything like me, there's something you did when you were a kid, something you were decent at, or just something that you could do that would just, time would just kind of, you would go into a flow state essentially, right? And for me, it was drawing. It was always drawing. So that's how I knew mine. But I'm sure for you watching, just think, there's probably something you were doing when you were a kid, something you really enjoyed that it was effortless to get into it. And time passed and you just enjoyed every minute. And it felt like you and the act were as one. Like sometimes it feels like when I'm drawing, I am in the drawing. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I feel like the energy, the movement, it just takes me to another place. So think about that thing, or think about that subject that got that interest in you. Maybe you were really interested in medical stuff and you really wanted to be a doctor, or things like this. And I can guarantee that most of you are not living anywhere close to that now, right? And that's shit. That sucks, because I really think that. Sorry, that's my alarm. I really think that when we're younger, that's when we're at our most pure. That's when we're unaffected. Especially, I was born in 95, so I'm 31, nearly 32. But I grew up, kind of in the era where it was, I grew up with a lot of older brothers too that were born in the 80s. So I had some older shit. I didn't have a smartphone until I was probably 19. It was just flip phones throughout all high school. Primary school was like nothing at all. I think the first time I got a phone was maybe when I was 15, and it was just a brick Nokia. It wasn't even a flip phone. I still remember when flip phones came out. It was before flip phones. So I've gone through that transition where we did have the internet a bit too, but then we also just had the PS1, and I grew up in that between time. And that kind of made me appreciate being able to be away from the influence of the internet and social media and all that stuff, which started to come later, and smartphones. Because now, when we were kids, which is what I wanted to get at, we weren't exposed to that. We were simply ourselves. We were really, truly ourselves. And I feel like this is why, if you go back to like people born in the 50s, 60s, most of them, when they grow up, they're doing shit. Like, not all of them, okay? I'm definitely generalizing here, but I think on average you would find that more of them were following what they truly wanted. And I honestly think that a big part of this is we're just getting influenced by other people's opinions, right? Like I talked about before, that there are some people following a script. And it could be the script that their parents are writing for them, but it can also be the script that social media is writing. That, in all these influencers are putting out there, and we're picking it up. Like you'll see people on Instagram or whatever talk about, oh look, I'm 19 years old and I'm making millions per month doing drop shipping. Meanwhile, you might be 25, 26 years old working at a factory making like $800 Australian a week. I've been there, brother. I've been there. I've probably worked 10 to 12 different jobs in my life. I've had 2 startup businesses doing screen printing, which I did for a good majority of the time. I worked initially at Kmart while I was still in high school for about 3 years, and transitioned over into screen printing. Had 2 startup businesses. The first one failed. Me and my brother walked out, and then me, my brother, and another one of my brothers started our own company. And that lasted for about 4 years until it got to the point where COVID kind of fucked us, and I had to find another job to actually get money, because I could have continued to work there, but I wasn't going to make any money, and I needed to pay board. I think at that time, actually I needed to pay rent because I had moved out at that time, and so I needed the money. So I went from that to then working at Ozpost for like 2 weeks, and I was like, nah, did night shift, hated it, and then did that for 2 weeks, and then found a temp agency that gave me a job in a solar panel company, doing like some demolition stuff and just basic yard hand stuff. Like when I say demolition, they literally just gave us a sledgehammer and were like, we need you to knock down this drywall and shit like that. And we essentially hired us for about 3 weeks to go in and just knock down a bunch of these structures and put in some I don't know what you call them, brackets in the ground for storage equipment. But anyway, did that. That job ended, so then I had to find another job, and I found one with another mate that I got at that job, and this job was in an electrical warehouse, literally on an assembly line. I was literally working with people that were on visas. It was like sweatshop conditions almost. Not really, but legit, we would be in there for 7 hours a day on the line. Just, they'd pass you a little thing, you'd have a little pneumatic drill, pass it again. Do that for 7-8 hours. There would be some days where we would get in, there wouldn't be anything to do. So they'd say, all right, fellas, put down a box of screws, like literally hundreds of thousands of screws, and just say, all right, we just want you to count these for the whole day. So that job was interesting. We're just loading pallets. Like, there was a bunch of different stuff with that job too. Then I went from that job and I found what did I do after that? I believe I finished that job and found a job at a trophy warehouse, which was just going around and collecting trophy parts in this massive warehouse, pick-packing orders, shipping it out. I did that for about a month. And I was like, nah, this isn't the job for me. You'll notice that, and a lot of people have a problem with this. I've never understood why. You'll notice that I don't fuck around. If I don't like a job, or I'll try anything, but if I don't like it, I'm not gonna stay there. And people hate it. There's so many people like, oh, you're messing up your resume. You're doing all this. Meanwhile, it's not bothering me, but it's just a theme you'll notice when you're a person who can discern for themselves and doesn't listen to what the rest of the fucking sheep want to do. You know. God, people just have a real problem with it. It's hilarious. So anyway, I ended up working there for a month, and the trophy warehouse, the problem there was they weren't giving me enough hours. So I was like, well, I'm not going to keep working here. I need to find something that gives me a bit more hours. So I went and found a job. Quite luckily, someone just called me up for a spray painting gig, literally spray painting metal signs, having the gas mask. This was really harsh chemical shit. Glad I'm not doing it anymore. But I eventually took it, and it was very convenient because it was literally right, like a 2-minute walk from my house. So I got really lucky with that one. And so I went, did that for about a year and a bit, and then I ended up moving to another city in my area, about an hour away, and I just couldn't do the travel time anymore. So then I ended up working at a local supermarket here, doing trolley collecting and cleaning. And that was my most recent gig. In between that, I also did support work. I've got my Working with Children check. I did my first aid course. So just to give you an idea, I've done a bunch of stuff. But now I'm at the point where I quit that job. I quit it all. And I'm essentially just kind of doing Uber as well as selling my art now and actually being in full alignment. But it took me a lot of different searching around to find that. And what I've realized is if you're a person like me who has done that, or you've worked a bunch of different stuff, but now you're trying to do your own thing, there are a bunch of people that will act like you're a bludger because you don't want to work that many hours, or you're happy now with the fact that you can make enough money to sustain yourself, and because you've gone through a situation like me, where when I was working my other job, I just said to myself, look, and I'm sure you guys have had this realization where you're like, I'm working just to afford to buy things that distract me from the fact that I hate my job. It's essentially what it was. I was working to buy more things to distract myself from the fact that I wasn't aligned. I was not listening to my inner child anymore. I let my body get out of shape. I'm in pretty good shape now, as you can see, but I was not like this. I used to be about 20 to 23 kilos heavier, I think, at my heaviest. And just terrible eating habits, smoking cigarettes, all this shit. And it was because I was sick. I was sick, and I was making money, and everyone else to the greater society, oh, Mike, you're doing, you got a job, you're keeping a job, you're doing all this shit. You're still going to the gym, but you've been bulking for the last 2 years, bro. What do you know what I mean? These were the things I was saying in my head to myself because I knew I wasn't who I wanted to be. The person that was in my head is more similar to what you see now, the vision I had of myself, in terms of everything, in terms of not only my physical body, but what I'm doing now in terms of pursuing a career, how my relationship is with my girlfriend. All these things improved dramatically. Ironically, when I did the things that everybody else would tell you will ruin shit, will fucking lead to your downfall. The reason those people say it is because they do not have the skills. They have not gone through the trials and tribulations, like I told you, with all the different jobs I've had. And it doesn't necessarily, you don't need to be doing a bunch of different jobs, but the main thing is most of these people have just been living scripts. They've been living what other people tell them to do. The people that live on their own accord and are doing truly what they want to do usually aren't going to have that much of a problem with you. They're not going to be saying shit to you like, why are you doing this? Like, oh, okay, be a bludger. All right, I'll keep working my 40-hour weeks while you just work 15 hours. Like, and they'll say all of this to you because they hate where they are, they hate their lives, they hate the person they've become, and you are a projection of everything that they could not do and do not want to do and are afraid to do, more importantly, because fear is a really big factor in all of this. So all of this to say that if you were someone like me, who maybe you're doing your own thing now, maybe you had a realization, maybe, like for me, it was I got myself in really good shape. And then coincidentally at that time, I was doing more and more art, but a company just hit me up randomly that I had done work for previously, like 5 years prior. And the dude said, oh, I'd love you to design a skateboard deck for me. And so, old me, because I didn't have self-worth when I was a lot fatter and didn't care about my appearance and wasn't working a job I wanted to do and really didn't believe I could work for myself or make money for myself, I never charged what I thought my art was worth. But this time, after I had that transformation, I had no issue charging what I thought it was worth, and which ended up being about a little over 2,000 Australian for about 40 to 50 hours of work. Now, keep in mind, that is like, at the time, double. That was worth like 2 weeks of what I would make at my other job. And it was doing something that literally, the hours didn't even seem like that long. Like, I was enjoying it. Not like my job. And a lot of people would tell you, like, why would you just quit on that? Like, you're an idiot. And you know what? Like, maybe I am, but I'm a happy idiot. Like, if that's the case, if that makes me an idiot, like, okay, I'm way happier. I feel way healthier. My relationship's better. The only thing that's gotten worse is my financial situation. But it's like, that is something that can be fixed. But people won't see that. People hear me say that and they'll just go, oh, your financial, well, you're fucked, aren't you? It's like, no, I'm not, man. Like, I'm actually now building up my art to the point where I've sold 3 drawings in the last week on a platform that I just started streaming at. Like, I'm making so many wins that aren't financially related. And eventually it's going to get to the point where, yes, my financials will be in order. But for me, getting myself in order now also, and I think this is important, I've done a video on this, so I won't go into it, but getting my lust under control too. I had a real big webcam addiction problem, a porn addiction problem, which a lot of guys do. They just don't want to admit that shit. A lot of us do. That's why a lot of us don't have the fucking balls to go do something for ourselves. And we want to just hate on people that do, like I've gotten, like I'm sure people who are watching this have gotten. But really, that's a big thing too. Beating lust as a dude, I think is like critical. If you haven't got your lust in control, if you have not got your urges in control, you're fucking kidding yourself if you think you're going to get anywhere that is close to an aligned and happy and content life. Notice how I didn't say financially wealthy life. You can have all the money in the world and be a piece of shit and hate yourself and okay, cool, you got a bunch of money, you can buy women and cars and houses, cool. How do you feel inside compared to me? Not even close. Like, and that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, if you're someone, you're following your own path and you're feeling a little beat down, or if you're someone that wants to hate on others because you're not following your path, I would urge you to start actually looking at yourself and being honest with yourself and sitting with yourself. Eliminate distractions, eliminate the social media for a bit, and actually just have a week where you just listen to your own thoughts. And most likely, if you're someone that has given a lot of hate to people and done things like that, your head is going to be fucking screaming at you. If you have even a shred of self-dignity, that is, which hopefully you do. But yeah. So look, this video was a little bit rambly, but I just wanted to make this to, just shine a light on what changing some approaches I had in life brought to my life and the alignment I feel. And also the fact that when you are living this way, you will see a bunch of YouTube videos of dudes saying this, and I always used to see it when I was one of those dudes who just used to hate on people that were doing their own thing. I used to see those videos, that dudes would make saying, when you're going after what you want, people just hate on you. There's just haters. And I'd be like, people don't hate. You're just a cockhead. But honestly, it's true. People do hate. It's a subconscious hate, though. It's not necessarily always an in-your-face hate. You can just sense that. Well, you can sense really that there are a lot of people that are just really upset and depressed. It's like I can feel it. I don't know. I can feel it. And I don't know if there's scientific evidence to this, but if you're someone that is looking after your body and you're at least trying to be on a path that is more aligned and you're trying to work on fighting your own demons every day, like right now I'm in the midst of trying to conquer this lust that I've really struggled with. If you're someone that's trying to improve on yourself, you're going to consciously pick up that negative, bad energy of the people that just don't care. On men, and this goes for men and women, you especially notice it on women. If you're someone that's constantly been beating your mate, when you stop, you just realize how many chicks look good, but like you can feel like that the way they carry themselves, their energy is just very unattractive. And then you can see women who you might not originally have thought, they're that attractive or cute, but there's something about the energy and just the way they radiate. I know it sounds spiritual, guys, and it might be spiritual woo-woo to some of you. If you haven't got to the point where you're doing these things intensely, like I've been trying to for the past year, and have actually made massive actions and transmuted some of that energy, which I'll go into later in another video about. If you're on retention, especially, it's very important to actually use that energy, transmute it into doing stuff. So for me, it's creative energy. So for me, I like to do my art and get that otherwise sexual energy out in a creative form. But yeah, I can go more into that. Just wanted to make this video to essentially just, give a little message to the people that are following their path, that don't stop just because you have some people hating on you. And the people that are hating, the message is stop hating as much. Look at yourself and realize, hey, I'm actually not following what I want to follow. Like, maybe I should start. Let's just see how it makes me feel. Because you might feel a whole lot better. That might just improve things in a way that you only thought would be possible by having more money or just throwing more material external shit, trying to buy happiness with that. It doesn't. It's internal. Okay? It's internal. But that's it. I could ramble on, but I'm not going to. I already have for 22 minutes. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. I hope there was something helpful in here. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.